Okay, this first part then of the option question A, describe, remember 4 penny point marks, the Republican government economic policies of the 1920s. So you've got laissez-faire, low taxation and tariffs. That's 3. Explain one of those, you're going to get 4 marks, okay? Explain why many American farmers suffer from financial difficulties in the 1920s. Remember, what we're looking to do is to explain 2 reasons here, okay, to get ourselves 6 marks. Now yeah, what we've got is an underlying problem of overproduction explained here about the American farmers. Up to 1920, when farming was doing well, more and more land was being used for farming. Improved machinery, such as combine harvesters, made US agriculture extremely efficient. The result was that it was producing surplus of wheat nobody wanted. You could also obviously add to that as well the impact of leaving World War I, where during World War I America was providing a lot of food for British and French people, and obviously after the war they no longer were providing that. So that's one reason explained, I think, with the World War I bit, probably 5 marks, yeah, definitely. Alright, but then we've got to move on from that, alright, and think about the situation where maybe many American farmers were involved, like black farmers were involved in sharecropping, okay, where they only took a percentage of the crop, and they were kept extremely poor during this time, alright, and really during the 20s, many Americans were actually leaving the rural areas and moving into the cities where the money was being made, because, as I say, the sharecropping people, the black people, and just general farmers in the south and in the rural areas really struggled during this time to make any kind of profit from this from farming, because of such a low price of wheat. Okay, we hear stories of animals just being killed because it costs too much to export them. Okay, to market. So like the transportation costs were actually higher than the value of the crop that was being transported, or the labour cost to pick apples or something like that was higher than actually what the apples were worth. Alright, so it's 2 reasons explained well there. I'm going to be in the top mark. A nice essay here for us. Higher purchase credit was the most important reason for the economic boom in the US. How far do you agree with this statement? Explain your answer. Okay, now to get level 4, obviously you're going to explain the credit issue, okay, and also other reasons. Alright, so the introduction of credit purchases gave opportunities for people to own goods whilst paying for them by instalments. This encouraged a consumer boom, as this form of credit was readily available. Mail order catalogues gave people every part of the country a chance to benefit from the consumer boom and paying a small deposit with the rest on weekly and monthly instalments. Yeah, fine. So you've got the idea that consumer goods really benefited from that kind of higher purchase schemes that were in offer. But also I think there are several other aspects to this, okay. You've got here mentioning the motor industry and also mentioning raw materials, alright. So you've got that situation there. You've got a lot of different raw materials right on your doorstep, okay, and you've got a large population, which is like a raw material, because that increases the demand for people, for goods within your own country, so you don't have to export them abroad. Alright, you've also got Republican policies, which we mentioned at the top there, the 4 marker, which again gave many people lots of money in the back pocket. Alright, so there's several different aspects, alright, and if you can do that you can get up to 9 marks, and then in order to get the top mark, which is down here, okay, explain how far, evaluation. For my thing, I think that the higher purchase maybe stimulated certain areas of the economy, but I think probably using a word like underlying in your conclusion to say that actually the situation was that the raw materials, okay, were the underlying reason maybe why America did well, or new production methods enabled goods to be produced cheaper, and that was more underlying than the credit purchase or something like that. Okay, so the time restrictions, have to run through this. Obviously the bonus marches, alright, 4 marks, 4 points for that. Remember, they marched on the White House, people used tear gas and tanks to disperse them, and because they were after an early pension they were due from the war, up to 4 points for that. The reasons for the Wall Street crash in 1929, again, explain 2 reasons for 6 marks, alright. On the margin is an idea where speculation, basically, people bought a small amount and then resold at a profit and paid off the balance. So obviously that was great while it was doing well, but obviously when prices started to fall, that was another issue. You might also want to mention something like overproduction as an underlying cause of the Wall Street crash. the poverty in America, so that actually once, which links to overproduction, once goods were bought by certain people, then there wasn't enough of a demand from the rest of the population because half the population couldn't afford it. I explained 2 reasons for the top marks. The most important reason why Roosevelt won the 1932 election was because he fought an effective campaign. How far do you agree with this statement? Alright, so what was his campaign all about is one side of it. The New Deal came up with energy and determination, hope, made people feel he was on their side. He was confident in victory but nothing to chance. Grand train tour of America in the weeks before the election and mercilessly attacked the attitudes of Hoover and the Republicans. He made 16 major speeches, so there's some nice facts about his campaign, alright? And then on the other side of it, you can talk about Hoover, maybe his image, heartless, uncaring. He said that prosperity would be just around the corner and that Americans should believe that would happen. He believed in rugged individualism, so if you weren't successful, it was your own fault in some ways, and the government's job wasn't to back failing businesses. Well, that's just completely the opposite attitude to Roosevelt. Okay, and also as well, the Depression had begun. The Wall Street crash began on Hoover's watch. Okay, so people, even if it was nothing to do with Hoover, maybe people still blamed him for it. It was obviously partly, but people still blamed him for it. Again, how far at the bottom there for 10 marks? All right, you're going to be laughing there. What do you think? All right, for me, Roosevelt's campaign was really important, but had Hoover been successful in his term of office, perhaps Roosevelt wouldn't have had as much of a chance of winning.